Hey you guys, welcome or welcome back to Our Awaken. This is going to be something that I've been wanting to talk about for a really long time. I just really didn't know how to approach the conversation, but I think I finally got everything wrapped together. So for today's video, I'm going to be talking about the dark sides to being pretty and being an attractive woman. A lot of times people talk about pretty privilege and how, it comes with all these amazing perks and how people treat you good and, you get like better experiences, which to an extent is true, but there's also a dark side to it that a lot of people don't talk about. So I just want to have this conversation now just because I feel like it's really important, especially as a person who I find myself attractive, and I feel like I have had experiences just in my life that I could not really understand or wrap my head around. And to just be hearing like other people's experiences and their perspectives on this particular topic is such a validating thing, to where I feel like I want to talk about it just in case, somebody else may understand. So I'm basically making this video with the intention to possibly validate someone else's feelings and their experiences, but also to just give perspective to other people, just, just so you kind of have an understanding. So I do have a video that I want to insert on the screen first, and then we'll get to talking about the topic.
If you're a pretty girl, you might struggle with this. This isn't a therapist point of view. I have to explain this to my clients because they don't get it. But I'll have a gorgeous client come in, like a 10, and she'll be like, why is this? I'm like, sweetie, it's because of how you look. And so I have to break it down for them. Then I also have to teach them how to be more cautious and then how to handle themselves because of what they look like. There's a whole shift in it. So if you're constantly complimented on your looks, there are higher risks for you, okay? In work, in school, in religion, and whatever you do, people are anxiously waiting to see you fail, okay? They want to see you fail and then spread it like wildfire. It really helps soothe their ego. They really want to know that you're not perfect. You might have had trouble having really good friends, or you feel isolated, lonely, because it's really hard to find women who are not in competition. Even your looks, and you could be the best person on the inside, but your looks could just trigger someone of their insecurity. You're a constant reminder for them. Also, a lot of women, if they see you as a threat, they're going to try to drag you to be extremely close to them because they want to be you. And some weird shiz happens. It's really weird. So psychologists say this, and it's so true. You are very polarizing. There's no neutral. So for women, some women might see you and be like inspired and look up to you and want to be your friend. And then other women might look at you and hate your guts, look for gossip, look for all the wrong things. And then for men, they might see you and be excited to talk to you, want to take you out. And then the other side of men is they're insecure and they think that you're just going to reject them. So they're just going to hate you first. I find that women who are known for their looks have to do double the work to prove that they're smart, to prove that they're a good worker. I find it's just really interesting. Also, people might think that you earn things because of the way you look. And that is so degrading and annoying of no, I worked my butt off for this. But it could be true that you did get someone because of your looks, and that's called pretty privilege. But again, you just have to work a lot harder. Also, a side note, I find a lot of women who are extremely beautiful have very beautiful friends who are extremely successful. And that's the only way they can have really good friends, is if they're at the same level, if not more. There is just no escaping that people are going to talk about you, and you need to accept that and let that sink in. And in doing that, you will become the most successful version of yourself. Once you kind of embrace all the good and negative sides to you, you just kind of learn to be yourself, and you can succeed a lot more when you embrace being beautiful, embrace being pretty, and not see it as a bad thing. And of course, it's not a bad thing to be pretty, but there are just pros and cons to everything. Let me know what you guys think and what you have experienced. But sorry, this is kind of a negative video, but these are just some things that I feel like I had to explain to my clients.
When you are pretty, oftentimes people feel like you just have everything handed to you, that your life is just so easy, it's so amazing. But the reality is, like, there are people who really be targeting you, people who don't really be happy for you, people who want to see you down, because in their mind they feel like you're so high up on this pedestal that they either want to try to like knock you down, sabotage you, or even just try to act like you're not a thing. One thing that I notice about people, people like you more when you're not confident in yourself. And it's the craziest thing, but I feel like the more that I am growing into myself, the more that I'm just becoming more confident, just embodying the energy of confidence within myself, I feel like people who showed up for me and supported me, they're no longer as present, because it's almost like they feel like I get too much attention, or they feel like, well, I'm getting the attention from other people, so why do they have to add on to it? And I feel like that's an issue, even though I'm not looking to be validated by people, because I validate myself. But let's be honest, we all do get some form of validation from outside opinions. However, like, I'm confident in myself to not need the outside validation, but it's not to say like people still don't appreciate it, because I'll be lying if I said I didn't. But it's just like, I noticed that like the more confident that I became, the more people just weren't really as interactive. They weren't really validating me as much as they once did. And another perspective that I kind of have on just that idea of when I wasn't confident, people interacting with me more versus when I did become more confident, because I wasn't self-assured. And you know, you can pick that energy up off of a person if you're not embodying, like, you know, just operating in your highest self. I feel like people felt like they had the ability to get closer to me, versus when I did start embodying that level of confidence, it's almost like they feel like they're out of my league. So I feel like that also plays a role into them not really engaging as much, because oftentimes I feel like people have this idea, which it is true to an extent, people's behaviors do change, but I'm the type of person, my behavior doesn't change. So it's like, just because I'm more confident in myself doesn't mean I'm about to become like this snobby brat, or I'm gonna be like, oh, don't talk to me. Like, I'm not that type of person. So I do get that hesitation that people may have, in the sense of like, oh, well, they think they're too good, so let me not really interact, because they may not feel like they're like in that space to interact. I hope y'all get what I'm trying to say, but it's like, I'm not that type of person. So it's like, I'm not the one who changed, but people be changing. But then people like to have this idea of like, oh, you changed. But it's like, no, I changed for the better, you know? Like, I didn't change who I was. I just changed how I carry myself. But you're the one who has changed, because your actions are no longer how it once used to be in the past, just because I decided to elevate myself. So that's just something I also noticed. But another thing that I noticed is that when people feel like you get a lot of attention, they feel like they don't want to add on to the attention, because they feel like they're inflating your ego. And I feel like people need to understand, at least I'm the type of person where like, I don't really like attention. Like, I grew up having a fear of being seen. I feel like it wasn't until maybe like this year, 2024, where I started getting to a point of working through that fear of being seen. And that fear of being seen came from my trauma of being an attractive young person. And it's not even just attractiveness. I noticed that every time I started to walk in myself, it's almost like people are threatened by it. When I started to really like showcase myself, like my talents or my looks or just different aspects of myself, I used to get backlash from it, in the sense of like people trying to humble me and downplay me. And that's another thing, like when you're an attractive person, it's like insecure people will go out of their way to try to humble you, to make you not feel so good about yourself, because they don't feel good about themselves. And I experienced that so much growing up that it did caused me to develop a fear of being seen, to where like now that I'm actually working on that fear and I'm actually showing up for myself, me noticing that transition with people is kind of just like, damn, like it kind of sometimes be making me feel like I want to crawl back into my little shell. But it's like, no, like if I'm too much for you, then I'm too much for you. You get what I'm saying? Like I'm not about to continue dimming my light because you're uncomfortable. And that's another thing also, like just the whole thing of like me feeling the need to dim my light to make other people comfortable because they were feeling insecure. And for a long time I used to always, especially being like an ex people pleaser, but also being like an empath, I don't know, I'm a very energetically sensitive person. If read a room was a person, I'm that person. Like I'm very good at reading the room, I'm very good at just reading people, not intentionally, but it's just something I naturally have since, honestly, since I was a kid. But it's like I used to always feel this feeling of like, okay, when I can tell that a person is not like secure within themselves, I almost felt like I had to like downplay myself, dim my light in order to make them feel comfortable, in order for them to not feel threatened. And that's something I've done so much growing up. And when you're young, you don't really understand these things, especially when you don't really have like a solid understanding of, at least for me, like it wasn't instilled to me like, oh, this is what a good friend is. You know, I was just in school and I just had people I called friends, and I didn't really have like a healthy perspective of what a good friend is. I just thought like, oh, this is how this person is, so I was accepting the behavior. But it was really like, girl, you secretly hate me, yet you're calling yourself my best friend. Like, it's just very weird. So it's like, also in the video, the lady talks about how you can be really polarizing. Like, people will either love you or people will hate you. And I just, for the life of me, especially I want to say like probably like late high school, I didn't really understand this. Like I grew up always being liked. At least that's from my perception. Like, you know, because I was always in my own little la la land world. And I was always the quiet, introverted person. I was like an introvert, extrovert when I'm comfortable. You get what I'm saying? But I liked being by myself. Like I was comfortable by myself. And I was used to people liking me, you know, like, because I'm not a problematic person. So for me, it's like, it was easy for me to make friends. It was easy for me to interact with different groups of people. Like even though I was in my group of friends, I could literally interact with the stereotypical different groups that you would have in like grade school. I could interact with all of them and it not be a thing. And I feel like I noticed, I want to say like late high school and on, like I'm 25 now, so from like 18, 19 to now, I noticed that like, for one, when you get to adulthood, it gets worse. Like you would be surprised. You would have this idea of like, oh, when people get older, they're going to be more mature. They're going to know how to handle themselves more. But it's like adulthood is literally high school 2.0. Like, and it's worse because I didn't really have a bad high school experience, but adulthood is literally high school 2.0. Like the amount of insecure people in this world is actually ridiculous. And I always say this, being insecure is not a problem because we all have insecurities. However, I feel like we should all strive to get comfortable within our insecurities, work on things that we can work on. And if you can't work on it, then learn to accept it. But it's the matter of, if you have insecurities, learn how to control them and not project them onto people. And I feel like there are a lot of insecure people in this world that don't understand that, and they tend to project onto people. And I feel like as I got older, as I started to get more into my looks, you know, now playing more in my style and, you know, like just getting a little more feminine, because I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of like a little tomboy. So I also, for that reason, wasn't a threat, which also played into me downplaying and dimming myself, because I felt like anytime I would try to show up in a way that was like girly and cute and feminine, I would have a friend that was always like, oh, you think you look cute. If I came with my hair done, when I tell you, everybody would be complimenting me, and this girl is like, oh, you think you look good, or oh, you acting funny now, to the point where, like, again, me being young and impressionable, I didn't really understand myself. I wasn't self-assured, just like a lot of kids weren't. So when you have a person constantly in your ear just like trying to humble you, you start to become really insecure. Like even when there isn't anything for you to really be insecure about, or like, and when I say that, I mean like, when me at this age right now, when I look back at like say old pictures, or just when I think about myself in high school, middle school, I'd be like, wow, like I was such a dope person, you know, and that's different for everybody. But like I was such a dope person, but I could not see myself. Like the things that I value in myself so much now is literally just an older version of my younger self. And I love myself so much now, but like back then I was so insecure. And when I say insecure, I mean like I was confident in myself by myself. But when it came to being around people, I didn't see myself in that way. I didn't know how to show up for myself because I was always dimming myself down. Whether it was subconscious or consciously, I was dimming myself down to make other people feel comfortable. So I never allowed myself to fully embody who I was in that present moment, which caused me to be insecure. And also, again, on top of people trying to humble me, it was just this feeling of like, you know, let me keep myself dimmed so that way I'm not feeling like a threat to anybody. But I didn't realize how detrimental that was to myself growing up, because it's like as I got older and I started to really, you know, like just grow up, my mind started to change. I wanted to have different experiences. I really had to sit down with myself one day and be like, I am the cause of me, you know, like I'm playing a role in my insecurity. Because I don't know if you guys ever heard of this thing of, and this is kind of like a video topic that I wanted to talk about. You're probably not insecure, you're probably just around insecure people. And I just want you to really think about that. Like, let that marinate. Like, and I know I just said I'm gonna do a video on it, but like I wasn't insecure, but because I was around insecure people, my actions caused me to show up in an insecure way to make them feel comfortable. It's a hot mess, but that's just the point I'm going into. But now I'm at that point where like after working through those feelings of like, okay, I'm not dimming myself down to make anybody comfortable, because that was coming from a space of wanting to make other people feel not threatened and feel comfortable. I'm not making myself uncomfortable to make you feel comfortable. And if you're a person that claims to care about me, you should not want me to be uncomfortable so that you feel comfortable. You get what I'm saying? Like, you should want to work on your insecurities while allowing me to blossom into the person that I am. So that's when I realized, like, okay, like these people who I'm calling my friends are not my friends, you know? And one thing that I realized is that a lot of times, again, being that I'm not a problematic person, but I am a truth speaker. So I can get like where people might not like me for that reason, because like I'm spitting honest truth, but it's never in a disrespectful way. But I do understand sometimes the truth really do be cutting people. So if that's a reason people don't really, you know, like me too much, I can understand that, even though I don't get it, because I love the truth, you know, like I like truth. But I get it. People don't want to be set free, so I leave them in the dark. But when I say like I'm not a problematic person, like I'm a friendly person, I'm a quiet person, like I'm not a mean person. So for you to not like me, it just doesn't make sense. Like, and I noticed that there will be people who either really like me, and sometimes it can be a little overboard. There's like different levels. So it's like, say people who do love you, they will either love you, be inspired by you, you know, think you're cool, all of that. Then there's another group where it's like they admire you, but like, you know, they really look up to you, but in a sense of like they want to be like you. And then there's another group where it's like, okay, it starts off as admiration, but then when they try to be like you, but then realize they can't be you, they start to hate you, because it's like they can't be you. You get what I'm saying? So it's like you kind of play on their insecurity. So that's another issue that I have, where it's like, okay, when you're a pretty person, people will naturally gravitate towards you, especially if you're a kind person. But I realized that like, even though I'm not like judged, especially growing up, like I've never been the judgmental type. Like I said, I can be friends with different groups of people, whether it's the nerdy kids or, you know, I would call myself a little cool nerd if I'm being completely honest, because I didn't really hang out with the cool crowd either, but I was cool with them, you know, just in passing. But it's just like, I noticed that like people will want to be around you, and it's like if they can't understand you, or sometimes like I've had so many experiences, especially in my like business era, and just like again like me right now, like growing into my confidence and just showing up in my truest authentic form without honestly caring how people feel. Of course I don't want anybody's feelings to be hurt, but it's like if it's something that's not in my control, why would I even carry that burden? And that's something that I used to do, and I just don't think it's fair for me to do that. But it's like I noticed like the downsides is people would start off really like me because again like I'm a very friendly, I feel like I'm a cool person if I'm being completely honest. And I feel like once they would like start to really see how I would do things, they will always compliment me. Like it's never a thing where I feel like people don't compliment the way that I do things. And you know, not to toot my own horn, but I feel like I do a pretty damn good job when I do things, if I'm being completely honest. And I hope this don't bother people me saying this because I have the awareness of myself. But if it do, that's your problem. But I'm just saying, it's like they'll meet me, they'll be complimenting me on all these different things, whether it's my looks or my style or how I do a particular thing. And then it's like after a while, when I tell you like their behavior, and this is not everyone, but like the insecure people, their behavior towards me will start to like change. Like it's either they'll try to like, I've had one experience where, not just one, but like I'm thinking of one particular experience where like everything that I was doing, she wanted to copy me. I always say like if this lady could live in my skin, I feel like she would take my skin off and put it on her body. I feel like everything that I would say is almost like a person wanting to be like your bestie and come off in that way, which is a red flag. If you haven't watched my 30 red flags in a friendship, please go watch that video because I listed so many things that I think is super helpful. But it's like that lady, I feel like if she could have lived in my skin, she would have lived in my skin. And it's easy to get kind of like intermingled in a situation like that because you know, like especially as women, you feel like, oh, this person is nice, this person is complimenting me, you know, like they seem real sweet. So in your mind, you automatically kind of lower your defenses to feel like, you know, oh, this is a person I could get cool with. When in reality, she wants to be you, and she's just getting close to you for that reason. It's almost like to study you, to try to see like, how can I be like you? And again, when I say when they try and then they fail, now you are their worst enemy. Like now they do not like you. It gets very weird, okay? I'm not trying to be messy, so I'm not gonna get like too specific on the details, but there was another situation where when I got to an area, everyone in the area liked me, you know, like they would always compliment my work and all of that. And then basically one of the people started to feel really insecure because she did the same thing I did, but she just wasn't doing it how I was doing it, if I'm being honest. Of course, with other factors that I'm not going to get too into because I don't want to give too much details, but it's like the lady started to, you know, when you could tell like when you're not around, people are talking about you. And now like when you come back around, like people starting to act real funny, real weird. It was giving that, and I started to realize her behavior changed towards me. Like I would come in, she wouldn't say hi to me, but I was always the one saying hi. But then she would complain that people don't say hi. It was just very like, you're trying to find something, a reason to not like me, and I'm not giving you a reason, and you're mad, so you're gonna keep trying to pick to find reasons. And people like this, I really feel like they're sick, because if your insecurity is driving you to that point, for one, I'm just gonna remove myself, even though people were like, oh no, just stay, just, you know, like try to find a way to work around it. But it's like, no, if I see like you're not feeling me and I'm trying to be cordial with you, I'm not gonna force myself to be in an area where I'm clearly not welcomed, where you clearly don't want me to be. Of course, if I'm here and it's not, it's again like there's a reason why I left, but it's like I'm not gonna let nobody drive me out of a place. But it's also just like, you know what, like I'm gonna just leave you here in your misery by yourself, because you're clearly not feeling it. Like, you get what I'm saying? So I just had to bow out. So it can be really difficult. Or there will be people that don't like you just for no reason. Like, they don't even know you, but they'll give you attitude. Say like you're at like a supermarket, or you're like at a store where you have to check out at a cashier. The cashier, you'll notice, is being nice to like everybody before you. And then once you get to the person and you're like, hey, like, you're smiling or you're being nice, then it's like real standoffish. They don't want to smile with you. They don't acknowledge your hi. It's just like, damn, like, I'm sorry. Like, did I do something to you? Like, people will go out of their way, even if it's not something intentionally, but it's just like people be triggered by you and you don't even know why. And it's so difficult, especially when you're a kind person, because it's like, I'm not doing anything to even warrant this type of behavior from you. So why are you even giving me that energy? You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm not even giving you energy for you to even give me that. It's different if I came up to your register being disrespectful. I came to your register with a smile on my face. Hi, how are you? Or, just, hey. Why are you meeting me with this negative energy? Like, keep your negative energy to yourself, ma'am. Thank you. So when it comes to like the whole polarization of whether they like you or they don't like you, there really is no in between. People either like you or they don't like you. And people who are feeling like you triggered their insecurities, they will find a way, honestly, to not really interact with you. So I feel like they kind of like X themselves out your life a little bit, even though they try to linger there. But I'm the type of person where like I pay attention to people's behavior. So if I notice something, I kind of just keep that mental note and I just know how to deal with you moving forward. Like, I'm a person, you either on this side or you on this side. There is no trying to play the fence. Like, I don't like the playing the fence, because people like that, they'll have you questioning like whether they're on this side or this side. And if I don't know how to interact with you, I just would rather not interact with you, just because that's the thing that makes the most sense to me. So now when it comes to talking about like guys would either really like you or guys would not like you. And it's oftentimes the insecure guys who feel like they don't have a chance, or they feel like in their mind, because you're attractive, you're either going to reject them or you're going to be mean to them. And it could be based off of them projecting their insecurities or, their experiences or things that they hear. It's like when you're an attractive person, people already put this idea of your character. Like, they already paint a certain picture of who you are without even getting the time to get to know you. Like, and I think that's not fair, because everyone is different. And don't get me wrong, like, I get the stereotype. There are so many beautiful women and their personalities are complete caca. And you can literally be the prettiest person, but if your personality is like terrible, that will take you from like a 10 to like a 2, if I'm being completely honest. Because I'm the type of person, like, nobody likes a mean girl. So when you're being mean because you're pretty, like, I'm very big on character. So if you're mean, it's just an automatic turn off, like, regardless of whatever your gender is. Like, if you're not a pleasant person to be around, I just wouldn't want to interact with you at all, because it's like, ew. But when it comes to like you being an attractive person, people will automatically put that label on you, or make it seem like, oh, you're automatically going to be stuck up, when it's like, no, if you really get to know me, like, I'm really a cornball, like, but in a goofy way. Like, like I said, I'm like a cool nerd. And I'm not even trying to put titles on myself, because I have so many different layers. But it's like, one thing you can't call me is a mean person, because I'm not a mean person. Yeah, I could be a little stern, but it's just like, listen, sometimes you got to be that way with people. But I'm not going to be that way with you if it's unwarranted. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm the type of person where I feel like everybody deserves a base level of respect, regardless of what your circumstances are, who you are, what you are. I'm going to respect you as long as you're respecting me. But it's like, people have this idea that because you're attractive, you're going to automatically show up in this way. And they don't even give you a chance to show up as yourself. It's like people are less likely to give you a chance to show up as yourself because they're already projecting onto you. Let's say, for example, if it's like the insecure guys, like, they'll either treat you like you don't exist. Basically, it's like they're gonna treat you like you're invisible to try to like humble you, so that they're not giving you the validation that they think that you want, or that they think that you get from everyone. So it's like, you know what, let me try to do the opposite that everyone does to you, so that you don't feel like, you hot-ish, basically. or it could just be an insecurity thing of like they feel like you're out of their league or like you're gonna ignore them, so they're going to not really engage with you just to kind of like psych themselves out. And just a little word, if there's any guys watching this, listen, if you're a cool person, just because a girl is pretty does not mean like she's automatically gonna cross you out. If you got a great personality and you keep yourself well together, a pretty girl will give you a chance. So don't just automatically write her off because you feel like she's out of your league, you know what I'm saying? Or there will be guys who would like basically try to humble you, and they'll do like little passive aggressive things and like say mean things to you in order to make you feel bad about yourself. And I haven't really experienced this much when it comes to guys, because honestly I really keep to myself. So it's like if I'm engaging with people, it's oftentimes like you have to provoke the engagement. So basically, I went to the post office to drop off packages, and there's a guy that works in my local post office who, I don't know what his skin condition is, but he basically has a skin condition that's like vitiligo, and he tends to like cover up. So the first time that I ever went to his window, when I tell you like the energy off rip was very like passive aggressive. His energy towards me was very passive aggressive. I said hi, he didn't say hi back to me. His responses to me were very short but kind of like sharp, like, you know, it was kind of aggressive. When I was leaving, I'm like, you know, have a good day, and he didn't say anything. Then I'm like, you know what? So me at this point in my life, I'm understanding of just these tactics. So I was able to basically like understand what just happened in that situation. So after that experience, when I would go back to the post office, because I would go frequently since I was running a lash business, so I just ship out products. But basically, like, when I did happen to be on his line, after a while, I guess when he started to realize like I'm not this mean person, because I just felt like, okay, maybe he was just feeling insecure or something. Not that I was like stroking any egos, but it's like I'm just showing up in a respectful way, you know, hi, good afternoon, and then have a good day, like I do with everyone else after every transaction. So I continued showing up in that way versus having this mindset of like thinking about the first time how he treated me. So I'm like, you know what, let me just give him a chance, you know, like, because I don't have no reason to show up and be mean to you. Now that I've encountered him several times, I get a hi, good afternoon, you know, like it's not weird anymore. And I'm like, sheesh, thank you, because like, listen, I come here often. Like, I don't want to encounter you and then you're being mean, because now you're about to yuck up my energy, and I don't like that. So now he's cool, but it just goes to show like he was on defense mode from the very beginning, based off of his possible perception of me, without giving me a chance to show up as myself, which caused him to show up in a passive aggressive way. And now he's a kind person. So again, I feel like people oftentimes tend to project their idea of who you are before even allowing you to show who you are. And that's just not fair. The way a person looks does not define how they're going to treat you. Of course, like, you know, you can have an understanding, I guess, based off of stereotypes, but you shouldn't go off of the stereotype. I mean, like, keep it in the back of your mind, if anything, but don't show up in that way where you're making it a definitive, like, this is how this person is, because you don't know them. So now this example that I'm about to give, when it comes to like the guys who do find you attractive, I will be completely honest when I say I don't really have the experiences of disrespectful men approaching me, and I'm so grateful for that. And honestly, I feel like it's based off of how I carry myself, and I hear that a lot. So like when I'm observing other women's interactions when it comes to guys, I don't know, it's like guys would look at pretty women as like objects versus as human beings. You get what I'm saying? Like they'll look at you for your looks and kind of just see you for your looks without actually taking the time out to get to know you. So of course I can speak on the topic in terms of what I hear, but if I'm being completely honest, I don't really have like too much experience with guys approaching me disrespectfully, so I'm just gonna kind of leave that there. And also another thing, which I don't really know if this goes into you being attractive, even though she mentioned it in the video, So I guess so. It's almost like when you have things going good for yourself, people have this idea that like because you're attractive, that's why it's working out for you. Like you didn't have to work hard in order to obtain the things that you've obtained. They feel like because you're attractive, you just got it. So it's almost like downplaying your capability. And I also think that's not fair because a person could very well have the qualities necessary in order to obtain certain things, because let's be honest, not everything is just handed to everybody easily. But people will have this idea that because you're attractive, that's why you got it so easy, or that's why things are working out for you. But it's like, how about I got this because I actually put the work in to get it? How about is because I have qualities that make me qualified in order to achieve this thing? You get what I'm saying? And when it comes to building friendships, I honestly feel like it's so difficult because again, you're polarizing. So people either love you or they hate you. And a lot of times, again, people can start off loving you and admiring you so much, at least that's how you may perceive it to be, and then they turn out to start hating you because you trigger their insecurities. Also, another thing is you could be friends with people, and because you like to dress up or you like to show up a certain way, they don't put that much effort in. So in their mind, you're showing them up. In their mind, you're taking all the spotlight, you're taking all the shine, when it's just like, why is it that me choosing to show up in a way that makes me feel confident triggers you because you're not taking those same actions? If you want to feel confident in yourself, baby, put it on. But me putting it on should not be a problem to you. All right. I remember back in high school, I had a friend one time for her birthday event. She literally told all the girls, don't outdress me. And we were all so flabbergasted because it's like, damn, now when I'm getting dressed, I'm worried about, am I going to be doing too much in this? Because I already know she's not going to be doing enough. So now what, you want me to put on some jeans and a t-shirt to show up? I just realized I can't be cool with, like I can be cool with you, cordial with you, but to say like we're gonna be close friends, I can't do that because that's not fair to me, because I shouldn't have to dim myself down in order for you to feel comfortable in the friendship. And I'm also not going to be the friend who's going to sit there and be nitpicked and be talked down on and be humbled because you don't feel confident in yourself. That's not fair. Like I had this fear, and I'm not going to lie, like it's still something I'm working on. Like I don't get so comfortable with building friendships so quick, and I feel like just like any relationships, you should obviously take your time, but I'm so hesitant and I'm so careful with, like I'm so intentional about my friendships and just the relationships that I build, because I have had so many experiences where I thought like, okay, this person showed up this way in the beginning and then all of a sudden things shift. And it's just like, damn. And with this particular point that I'm talking about, yes, it goes into you being attractive, but it also goes into other qualities that you have about you. So when you're a pretty person and you have other qualities, like you're not just a pretty face, people will be insecure by you, because I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot of pretty faces that are just pretty faces, but when people find out you're attractive, you're smart, you have talent, you have skills, baby, that will make them hate you even more, because in their mind, like they will think your life is perfect, they will think you're perfect, they will project them thinking you're perfect onto you and make it seem like you feel like you're perfect, which for me also played into that idea of my fear of being seen, but also a fear of success, because I started to feel like, well, if I started to work on my fear of being seen to where now I'm getting over my fear of being successful, because in order for me to be successful in the way that I am going to be successful, I have to be seen. And in order for me to be seen, I have to showcase myself in my highest form. But in order for me to do that, I also have to not fear success, because if I know me showing up in my highest form is going to lead me to that path, I'm afraid of what backlash behind the scenes will come with that. You get what I'm saying? So like, I understand that I'm now putting myself even more into the lion's den to encounter more people, to engage with more people, and to have more of those negative experiences, which for so long played into me downplaying myself just to avoid those experiences. So if I'm getting comfortable of, showing up more and being more confident and, like just operating in my highest form, like I know that that's going to come with attention. And for so long, I hated attention. And I'm not gonna lie, I still be uncomfortable with it. I get a little anxious, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm learning to just take things as they are. Like, you can't have everything. So I'm not being picky, God. You know I'm not being picky. But I had this like fear of succeeding and this fear of showing up because I just didn't want any backlash. I didn't want to deal with people being mean. I didn't want to deal with people's insecure projections. And then people wonder why pretty people be so insecure. It's really because like from a young age, people are trying to humble you. People are trying to make you feel low about yourself. So it's not even coming from a space of like, oh, I don't think I'm pretty or I don't think this. It's coming from a space of people are always telling me that I'm not attractive, or people are always trying to tear me down, to where now you resonate with that feeling because that's all you're experiencing. So even if you do have people that are validating you, there's still a really big chunk of people who are trying to unvalidate you and humble you, you know? And like she said in the video, I can only imagine like the prettier you are, the more that you're gonna deal with. And when it comes to just building friendships, like, wow, I just realized like I was talking about friendships and then I transitioned to a different topic. But just to go back to the friendships, like I feel like I'm so hesitant when it comes to building friends, because one thing that I realized with women, like just me observing society and just off of also personal experience, like people will want to be your friend because they think you're pretty. And that's one rule that I have. If you want to be my friend because you think I'm pretty and you want to be pretty friends, I'm not that girl. Like, I don't do that shallow stuff. You have character to you, good character, I can work with that. But if you're just saying you want to be my friend because you think I'm pretty, like, to me that's a shallow friendship. Oftentimes those be the ones where it's just like, you know, you kind of got to watch out for, because you don't know how it's going to spin. And don't get me wrong, like I get like there's a lot of girls, and I'm kind of a little hesitant on that little title as well, because nowadays people just don't have standards. People don't have morals. And I'm not saying it's everybody. So I'm trying to be very balanced within this conversation, you know, like I'm able to see different perspectives, but I'm also just acknowledging the different perspectives because there's so many different nuances that go into this conversation. So I'm just trying to acknowledge everything, but I also have to be realistic. The way my mind works, we're gonna be sitting here for like 5 hours if y'all let me keep talking. So I'm not gonna drag this out too long. If you're a pretty person, I will acknowledge that, because it's like, hello, who doesn't love pretty people? You know, like, why not? Let me give you your flowers. But to say that I'm like thirsty to be your friend because you're attractive and vice versa, I'm not with that. I want to be your friend because we have similar interests, because of your character. First and foremost, your character is number one. Like, if I don't like your character, if I don't trust you, if that mutual respect is not there and we don't have similar values, like it just wouldn't work, just for me personally. And then when it comes to guys, like there will be guys where it's just like, because you're a pretty face, they want to hold you as like a trophy, something to show off, versus like you actually being something of value to them, that they understand the value of and why they're with you. And I feel like this is just in general, like just because a man finds you attractive doesn't mean like, you know, that's a jackpot. Just because you find me attractive doesn't mean anything. Like, do you value me as a person? Like, of course I want you to see me as attractive, but do you value me? Like, are you going to handle me with respect and with care? And a lot of times attractive people can have people around them yet feel so lonely and feel so isolated, because again, like there could be people that want to be your friend just because you're pretty, but it's like y'all don't have no connection. There could be guys who want to be with you because you're attractive, but it's like, do you see my value? Do you see me for who I am inside versus just what I present externally? Also, a lot of attractive people do have these traumas. Like, people don't talk about it a lot, but it's just like, again, people will want to be friends with you just to, it's like sometimes like when they, like I said, when they find out you have the whole entire package, you're attractive, you're talented, you're smart, sometimes there will be people who want to get close to you just to study you, to kind of find cracks within your foundation, just to realize that you are who you say you are. and then that will make them not like you even more. So that's another thing as well. Like, you really don't know people's intentions when they are dealing with you and when they are interacting with you. So it's like when you're attractive, you have to be like extra hyper vigilant, because a lot of people really don't be engaging with you in a way where it's of your best interest. You have to really be discerning when you are interacting with people, because you don't know why people are trying to enter your life or why they're engaging with you, but only time will tell. So to end this video, I would say one major tip that I had to come into was just making sure that you are self-aware, making sure that you work on your insecurities, making sure that you're not allowing people's projections to affect you, like affect your mind and just your internal state. Because oftentimes when you're repeatedly having certain experiences and you don't understand why it's happening, because it's like you're not doing anything to provoke it, it can really cause you to feel like just insecure. Like, what am I doing wrong? Why do I keep attracting this? And it can make you want to close off. It can make you just not want to engage with people. And it can cause you to feel really isolated. And, you know, like, you shouldn't have to feel that way. Of course, again, like, you would just have to be really discerning and protect yourself, because there's a lot of vultures in this world, okay? It's a lot of vultures out here. So you just have to get really comfortable with walking. Like, for me, I'm like a popular loner, so I like to be by myself. I really enjoy my own company, so I don't need to be around people in order to feel satisfied. I very much love being by myself, because again, like, I just feel like I'm a dope person, you know? Like, I wish I could have a friend like me, if I'm being honest. But, you know, I have me, so that's good enough. And yeah, so I really had to just learn to like be confident, work through my insecurities, but also the insecurities that people were projecting onto me. I had to work through people projecting the idea of me being a certain way or showing up in a certain way that I wasn't showing up in. I had to really get to know myself, basically like really learn myself, really understand who I am down to my character, you know, my emotional state and just everything. Learn myself as a person so that when I go out into this world, like, nobody can tell me who I am without me being able to confirm or deny those statements. So you're basically able to validate yourself, but also negate other people's projections that they're trying to put onto you, because you know it's not true. So you don't allow it to like penetrate you to where you feel like hyper vigilant, you feel like you need to like constantly correct yourself or show up a certain way. Just be yourself, get comfortable with being yourself, and people who are for you will be for you, and people who are not for you will not be for you. But it is not your job to dim yourself down to make other people feel comfortable about their insecurities. It's just that is not fair to you, and it is not your responsibility. You need to show up in your highest form. So yeah, I'm just gonna end this video here, because honestly, I'm already looking, it's an hour long, and I don't think there's gonna be much for me to cut out of this. So I thank you for watching this video, and if you have any experiences, please comment them down below. Let's talk, because I know my experiences and I know of things that I've heard, but I really want to get this conversation going. Like, what are your experiences? I really be interested in knowing like other people's experiences, just because like I understand we are all individuals, but we're all the same in some way. Like, we're all connected in some way. So it's just really interesting to get to know like other people's stories, because it's also a form of validation, and also kind of puts things into different perspectives, because we all have different perspectives. But also, most importantly, like, I love doing videos like these because my goal is to build like community, you know, like a safe space for people to just, you know, talk. So I feel like the comment section, we can make it that. Keep it real cute down there. Don't be disrespectful. If you disagree is fine, but just be respectful, please and thank you. And I will definitely be reading the comments. And also, your comments could be helpful for other people if there are things that I haven't talked about. So thank you for watching this video. And since it is December, we are posting just about every day, every other day. So please stay tuned and let's get these conversations going. And I look forward to catching you in another video. Bye.